look here at this horn circuit on the VW61 and 60 only. It is different. If you notice that the 61, this is the second video on this, so subscribe, find the other video, you can watch it on the rest of the circuit. But the big difference between the 60 and 61 and the later models is there's no wire in the middle. The mystery wire is not there. So what they do in lieu of that, hopefully I'm back where I was. I had to get the dog because he just wants me to go help him check for rabbits again. So anyway, we are talking about the 61 circuit here, and there's no wire coming through the steering column, and that is the way it's supposed to be. The actual steering column has a ground on the other side of it versus having the wire go through the steering column to ground. And what they do is when they built the steering column, the steering shaft is isolated from, or insulated from, the steering column, which on the later models, the steering column and the steering shaft are all one circuit. So on this one, they either have a rubber piece around the bearing in the middle, who knows. But anyway, I haven't taken it all apart, I'm not going to. But anyway, here's how the circuit works. So I'm going to show you where the actual contacts are if you're working on it. And so you can check this to see if you have all the right parts, which I found out that I do from testing and stuff like this. So I figured it's time to share this to people because I know a couple other guys are working on 61s that are watching my videos. So you're going to run into this later on in your project when you get to the point where I am trying to get the horn to work, which it does. Let me show you. So while you're working on this, it's smart to do it the way that I do, is have the power wire disconnected, which I showed you where that is. It's the yellow wire at the fuse panel on the inside. It should be on your passenger side of the car, somewhere towards the front, and it goes down to the horn. So it goes through the hole in there. But you see this contact right here. You see where I cleaned it. That is actually the contact that your horn operates on. So if you touch this, so if I can touch it by itself, this is going to be a little tricky. And then you touch the steering column, the horn works. So my circuit is working, my steering column is working properly. If you hook up that wire and immediately you have a horn, no good. You just don't even try to fix the 61 steering column, put a wire through the middle. Best bet's to just use the other circuit. It's not really that much different. And I believe you can use all the same parts from your 61, but you just have to add the wire if that's the case. So let's take a look here how this operates. So that brass contact or copper contact there connects to this area of your steering wheel. Okay, this portion right here. So you got to have that nice and clean, which I do. And there should be no continuity between here and, see that bolt? If that was cleaned off, I'll show you. Clean it off. Yeah, between this bolt and this area, this ring, should be completely isolated. So let me back up a little bit, try and get a better focus here. Okay, so this ring, behind this ring, if you look right here, I'm not going to take this all apart unless I have to. I'm probably going to have to, but I'll leave it for another time. This little area, you see this little stair step right here that I'm pointing at that I'm going over here? That is an insulator. So it's either plastic or whatever their old German stuff was made out of, between this contact ring and the steering wheel. So this piece is an actual isolated contact. Okay? And right here, this bolt, okay, is part of this part of the steering wheel. So this little ring itself is in its own world. It doesn't connect to anything. These here are isolating rings. These are like either made out of plastic or whatever that fiber stuff was that Germans made stuff out of. Okay, to keep this from having continuity to the steering wheel. So, and also to these bolts. So if that makes sense to you, we'll take a look at the other side of the wheel. Okay, so what they have here on the 60 and 61 is there's 3 of these terminals. I'm missing one. Okay, not a big deal. I have the remedy right here. Brass nail. Fits perfect. I got this brass nail with the kit for my and I'm going to cut the head down a little bit so make sure it's got plenty of room and doesn't bump anything. What this does is there's a little spring underneath it. This should be clean, free from paint right here underneath where the spring meets, because what it does is it shoots all the way through that hole and connects this part of the steering wheel, which is the shaft, okay, with this isolated ring right here, insulated ring. Okay, and it's isolated from the circuit. That's why I say isolated and insulated ring. It connects all the way through. Boop. Pokes right here where there's a little indent. See the little indent? Pokes through, and that's your horn contact. So in that, the regular steering wheel horn button should be okay. I'm not sure, but I haven't got that far into it. But your regular horn ring should be fine, because all it has to do, and even if it isn't, you could modify it or whatever to make sure that these things will work. So when this thing's in this hole, and I have a spring behind it, which at Harbor Freight Tools they have those little spring assortments. Tons of different types of springs in there. I'll find something that I can cut down or whatever and make into this. And I haven't got these out of their holes yet. So, and I've had them with penetrating lubricant on them all night. And usually that penetrating lubricant I have goes through about anything, but for some reason it's just not. I think I got one of them to twist, but I can't get it to pull out yet. So once I get these out, then I'll clean out those holes, and I'll clean out the paint behind there, and I'll have the springs touching the unpainted area so that I can, when I push this button, I can just push that sucker in. It'll hit that ring. That ring will have continuity to here, which gives you continuity to the outer part of your steering column. Makes your horn honk. So it's a little different than just having a wire coming through and touching into the steering column. That would be a little bit easier. That's why they changed to that. And they kept it for so many years after that. Makes sense. But if you have a 60 or 61, you either and you have the correct column, and it doesn't have continuity between this ring and the steering column. So if you can hook up that hot wire to your horn, which I would suggest leaving off while you're working on this, because that horn is super loud, especially 6 volts with a 12 volt battery. Yeah, so that you don't accidentally bump this guy, beep, or playing around with it, trying to put the horn on and off. Do that last. And then I would try and, let's see, I'm trying to think of something here. I would make sure this is clean. I would check continuity between here and there. If you don't have continuity, your horn's not going to be honking until you do that. But if you do have continuity, as soon as you connect that wire up, it'll pretty much tell you. If you hook that up and it starts honking, then your insulator inside is probably bad. You can't buy any of this stuff, so or maybe somebody put the later model column in. If that case, just put the wire through it. It'd be so much easier just to connect that wire up and make that do the job. So anyway, that's the horn circuit pretty much in detail as far as the steering wheel goes. The rest of the horn circuit is exactly the same as all the other models. So refer to the other video or to someone else's horn video. The guys are charging for these things. I can't believe it. Come on. There's YouTube monetization. There's a way to make money, guys. Pennies is fine. I'll take pennies. So if you hook it up this way, this should get you through your horn circuit. And the steering button, the button itself, the horn button itself, is what pushes on here, because you'll have those same springs that you have on their other models. And those springs here, so you have double spring. I don't know if maybe it's not supposed to have double springs. Maybe this is the only spring, but I'm probably going to double spring mine because I just want to make sure my horn doesn't honk when I'm turning the steering wheel for some odd reason. So I'm probably going to put springs in behind here. Use the little same kits you use for the other ones, the spring kit with the little insulators and all that stuff. So, all right. Well, I'll tack you on the next video and give this one a try. Hopefully you guys can figure out your horn button with this video.